Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi wahdah, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dah, amma ba'd. We have been discussing nouns and its types, and we said that we look at noun from four different angles, whether this noun is ma'rifa or nakira. And ma'rifa is definite when something is specified, is very clear. The person that you're talking about or the thing that you're referring to is very clear to you. The definite, ma'rifa, known. And there are several types which are listed here and you know them. Ismu dhamir, for example, a pronoun. Ana, huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna. You know them, all 14 of them. And then there are others like Ismul Alam, the proper noun. And there are certain others. We haven't covered all of them. And then there are nakira. Two of those common types are Ismu Dhat and Sifa. Nakira can be made into Ma'rifa by adding al, which is the in English counterpart. And so four aspects that you look at any noun from is either their form, which is Ma'rifa and Nakira, or the gender, which is Muzakkar and Mu'annath, masculine, feminine, or their number, Wahid, Tathniya or Jama'. Wahid or Mufrad is the same thing, Tathniya or Musanna, same thing, Jama'a. And likewise, the state that they're in, the declension, which we haven't touched upon yet. Then you put those nouns together, two together, and then you try to find out the relationship. If two nouns have a relationship whereby they give you a clear meaning, then this is called a complete compound. And if it doesn't give you complete meaning, then it's incomplete compound, naqis. Complete is tam, which is also called jumla, and there are two types of jumla. Incomplete, there are several types. We have covered two so far, which is murakkab tawsifi and murakkab idafi. Murakkab tawsifi is when the first part is mawsuf and the second part is sifa. Mawsuf, also called man'ud, is the being which is described. And sifa or na'at is the attribute, good or bad. And they both correspond to each other in all four respects. They should both be ma'rifa, both should be nakira. If one is nakira, other should be nakira. One is muzakkar, other should be muzakkar. Same way. It goes all the way. With one exception, which is jama ghair aqil. Okay? Where you take it as a group, a jama'ah, wahid mu'annath. With regards to gender, you know there are several reasons to believe that the word may be feminine. If there's no reason out of any of these found in that word, that noun, it would be muzakkar, masculine as a default. So every word is a muzakkar unless there's a reason to believe that this may be feminine, which is the name or the attributes of feminine, a female. And then there's some outward signs that hence looking at the word structure itself. So ta at the end, rounded ta, like salihah, salah, zakah, sa'a, sayyara. Or they have alif maqsura, shortened alif, uzma, kubra. Or they have alif mamduda, the elongated or elongated alif, zahra, sahra, khadra. And the body parts which are in pairs, like yadun, rijlun, or the name of country or tribes, Misr, Quraysh. And there are certain which we know Arabs use as feminine without us knowing any clear evidence behind it. They use it as feminine, so they are considered sima'i. They're heard of as feminine by Arabs, from Arabs, so we just consider it to be feminine. And there's several types, so several examples. With regards to number, you look at wahid, tathniya, and jama'. one, two, and more. Not just singular, plural, you have dual as well. How do you identify a tathniya? By ani, aini at the end. There will be either ani, aini, aini. Ani is marfu state, aini, aini is mansub and majroor state, respectively. And then jama is of two types, mukassar, broken, and salim, sound. Broken plural is when the structure of the word, the noun in this case, is being broken. It's not kept intact. When it's kept intact by some extra addition at the end, is called salim. So salim, muzakkar and muannas, feminine and masculine, they have different styles, different letters to be added right at the end. For muzakkar, it would be una, ina, ina. For muannas, it would be atun, atin, atin. Muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin. Sound feminine plural. And sound masculine plural is muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. And mukassar is you break the structure. This rajulun becomes rijalun. You do not add anything right at the end, but you insert few things here and there, change the signs on certain letters. The jumla, the complete murakkab, complete compound, jumla tam or murakkab tam is sentence. Two types, fi'liya and ismiya. Fi'liya we will cover in future, inshallah ta'ala. Ismiya, when it starts off with a noun. First part is called mubtada, second part is called khabar. Mubtada, khabar, subject, predicate. A statement could be giving you some information, yes and no, positive or negative, and it may be telling you something with regards to prohibition or command. So there are two different types of statements, either khabariya or inshaiya. Statement is sentences, either khabariya, which is a statement generally, and inshaiya when they demand or ask something. Last week we started off with murakkab idafi, and we said the two parts to it. First part is called mudaf, second part is called mudaf ilay. Mudaf, mudaf ilay. Mudaf, mudaf ilay. Mawsuf sifa was in murakkab tawsifi. Murakkab idafi, mudaf, mudaf ilay. So mudaf cannot take tanween, it cannot take al either. And it means that it would be devoid of it, even if it carries generally. So rajulun, for example, waladun, for example, you have to drop that tanween. If it was al waladu, you have to drop that. Al baytu, you have to drop that al. You cannot keep that al and make it mudaf. Mudaf does not take al and it does not take tanween. And mudaf ilay, which comes afterwards, is always majroor, in the majroor state. That is why it's called genitive of possession. For example, Kitabullah, book of Allah. With this construction, the first part being mudaf, second part is mudaf ilay, second part is majroor in the genitive case. Then the construction gives you that idea of possession. Something is possessed by something. So Allah's book, not any book, Allah's book. And it becomes definite as well because it is now possessed by a definite noun, Allah in this case. Qalamu Zaydin, Zayd's book, Zayd's pen. The pen was qalamun, like kitabun, but you cannot have tanween or mudaf. That's why you have to drop that tanween, make it just one dhamma. Zaydin, mudaf ilay is majroor. That is why Zaydin. Allah is majroor as well. Word Allah is majroor because of kasra at the end. With al at the beginning, you cannot have tanween and al together because one is marifa, one is nakira, so you don't put them two together. A word can have either tanween or al, can't have both. Qalamu Zaydin, Qalamu Zaydin, Zaydin majroor. And the baytu talibati, talibah, talibati, so the house of the student. Now you can have more than one mudaf and mudaf ilay. And remember, mudaf always come before mudaf ilay, so it has to be in that order. And as I said, although mudaf kitabullah, for example, of baytul taliba, bayt is nakira without al on it, yet it is ma'rifa because it is now possessed by a ma'rifa. So mudaf ila ma'rifa. You remember one of the categories that we always see on the first few slides, the subtypes of ma'rifa, right at the bottom or close to the bottom is mudaf ila ma'rifa, something which has been possessed by a ma'rifa is ma'rifa as well. Okay, let's do a bit of practice. Ma'ul bahr, ma'ul bahr, ma, it was ma'un, al bahr is the river. So ma means water, the water of the sea or river. Okay, the water of the sea. Ma'ul bahri. Mudaf mudaf ilay. Okay, so ma'u is actually ma'rifa because it is possessed by al-bahr, which is ma'rifa. So if something is mudaf to ma'rifa, it becomes ma'rifa. Ma'ul bahr. Labanul baqari, the milk of the cow, cow's milk, the cow's milk. Okay, again, laban, labanun becomes laban, ma'un becomes ma'u because mudaf cannot take tanween or al. Lahmu shati, the meat of goat or sheep, sheep's meat, lamb's meat, goat meat, not lamb, sheep or goat. Shat is used for both. See, they're all in majroor state, genitive case, with kasra at the end. Uzunul farasi, the ear of the horse. Horse's ears. The horse's ears. Ears. Ita'atul walidain. Ita'a. Ita'at is obedience. The obedience of parents. Walidain. Walid, father. Walidani and walidaini. Marfu mansub state. Walidani, walidaini, walidaini. Ani, aini, aini. Tasniya form. Two walids, it literally means, but it means father and mother. Walidani, walidaini, walidaini. Ita'atul walidain, because this walidain is, because same state is for majroor and mansub state. Is this majroor or mansub? You know it is majroor. Why? Because it's mudaf ilayh. Just with translation. Okay. The obedience of parents. Baytullahi, mudaf mudaf ilayh. Baytullahi, the house of Allah. ضوء الشمس ضوء الشمس, the light of sun, the light of the sun. Okay, okay, let's do the reverse of that then. The goat's milk. So what do you put first? What is mudaf here? What is something which is being possessed by something else? So milk is possessed by the goat, isn't it? So you say labanu, the milk, al-labanu. But since it is going to be mudaf to goat, you cannot have al, so you remove that al. You say labanul, and then shat. Shat becomes ma'rifa by adding al to it. You would say ashat, labanu shati, shamsi letter. Labanu shat, labanu shah, shat, shat, goat's milk. The boy's book. Kitabul waladi. Kitabul waladi. The boy's book. The cow's head. Ra'sul baqarah. Baqarati. Ra'sul baqarati. Obedience of the mother. Ita'atul ummi. Ita'atul ummi. Zaid's wealth. Malu Zaidin. Malu Zaidin. The elephant's ear. Udhunul fili. Udhunul fili. Light of the moon. Daw'ul qamari. Daw'ul qamar. Daw'ul qamari. Mudaf ilayh is majroor always. Hassan's children. Awladu Hassanin. Awladu Hassanin. Allah's camel. Naqatullahi. Naqatullahi. Have a look at that. Ra'sul Baqari or Baqarati, cow, Muzakkar Muannas generally is bull, which is male, so it's better to say Ra'sul Baqarati. You can say Ra'sul Baqari as well. Make it bull. It's better to say bull. For Baqari, it's better to say bull. Or for cows, it's better to say Baqarati. So let's just maybe change it, not to confuse. Ra'sul Baqarati. Oh, oh. Baqarati. Okay, Ra'sul Baqarati. Incomplete compounds like adjectival or genitive of possession. Murakkab idafi and murakkab tawsifi can be part of a sentence. It can be subject or predicate. Okay. For example, kitabun waladun jadidun. You've got three nouns there. Are they marifa or nakira? All nakira. Kitabun waladun jadidun, all nakira. There's no al to that. And they're not proper noun. They're not mudaf to anything. And they are singular. Obviously, all are singular. They're all looking in marfu state because of dhammatan at the end. And they're all mudhakkar. Kitab walad jadid. Okay. So how can we make it in a sentence? We can make it into mubtada and khabar. Now, kitabun waladun jadidun. Just by looking at those words, trying to find out the meaning. Kitab means book, walad means boy, jadid means new. So what could be the meaning? What do you think might be the construction, the best way to put it together? Obviously, you don't want to say kitabun waladun, as in waladun cannot be sifa of kitab. If you make it mawsuf sifa, you can't do that, because waladun kitabun, it is not a sifa. Waladun is not the sifa of or the attribute of kitab. A kitab cannot be walad. Likewise, waladun jadidun, a new boy, a new son. Well, it could be. Then what would be kitab then? Doesn't make sense. And if you want to make it mubtada, to make a sentence, it must be marifa anyway. So how would you make it marifa? So the best thing would be to put them two together. Kitabu waladin, mudaf mudaf ilayh. Kitabu al-waladi is fine, but you can make it kitabu waladin as well. Even then, it would be a little bit specific, not completely specific to become marifa, but still be good enough to become mubtada. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So kitabu waladin, kitabu waladin. Book of boy, the book of a boy is new. Jadidun is new. Book of a boy is new. Mudaf mudaf ilayh. And then this becomes mubtada and that becomes khabar. Likewise, Zaydun rajulun salihun. Zayd is ma'rifa. Rajulun is nakira. Salihun is nakira. If you say Zaydun rajulin, doesn't make sense. Zayd of men, what does that mean? Doesn't make sense. Rajulun salihun could become mawsuf sifat. Yes. Zaydun rajulun, they cannot become mawsuf sifat. Rajulun salihin, rajulu salihin. Salih is man, doesn't make sense. It makes more sense if you make it rajulun salihun as mawsuf sifa. And Zayd to become mubtada on its own, because this is marifa anyway. You do not need to make it marifa. This is marifa because of alam, one of the 7 types of marifa. So Zayd can be mubtada because this is marifa, and rajulun salihun. So Zayd is a righteous man. Mubtada khabar, complete sentence. Okay, mawsuf sifa becomes khabar. Hadi sayyaratun jamilatun. Hadi ism ishara, and this is marifa, so that could be mubtada on its own. And sayyaratun jadidatun, jamilatun, new car, beautiful car, jamilatun, that could be mawsuf sifat. And khabar nakira, khabar. Okay, this is khabar and this is mubtada. This is how it goes. You look at all the isms together, try to figure out, can we make them into compound, or they're two enough on their own, whether the compound is going to be on mubtada side or on the khabar side. And it could be both actually. Okay, in sarf, you make sure that you have memorized all of that. Abada, abada, abadu, abadat, abadata, abadna. Abatta, abattuma, abattum, abatti, abattuma, abattunna, abattu, abadna. And likewise, mudari, ya'budu, ya'budani, ya'buduna, ta'budu, ta'budani, ya'budna, ta'budu, ta'budani, ta'buduna, ta'budina, ta'budani, ta'budna, a'budu, na'budu. They are important, they're very important. If you memorize that, it will be easier. You can make the same with sajada. Just change it to sajada. Abada becomes sajada. Sajada. Sajada, sajada, add alif, sajadu, wow, sajadat, jatta, sajadata, sajadna, sajatta, sajattuma, sajattum, sajatti, sajattuma, sajattunna, sajattu, sajadna. And likewise for mudari, yasjudu, yasjudani, yasjuduna, yes, tasjudu, tasjudani, yasjudna, tasjudu, tasjudani, tasjuduna, tasjudina, tasjudani, tasjudna, asjudu, nasjudu. So this is how you just do one and it works for all. And likewise, there are certain huruf particles which, if you add before a pronoun, huma, huwa, huma, hum, they become, it gives the next pronoun which you are attaching this word with, this particle with, and that comes in the state of nasab, accusative. So la'alla huwa becomes la'alla hu, la'alla huma, la'alla hum, la'alla ha, hiya becomes ha, la'alla huma, la'alla hunna, la'allaka, anta becomes ka, la'allaka, la'allakuma, la'allakum, la'allaki, la'allakuma, la'allakunna, la'alli, la'allana. This is how it goes. And likewise, if you put before these pronoun huwa, huma, hum, a noun, so it becomes mudaf, mudaf ilay. Kitabu huwa becomes kitabu hu, his book, book of his. Mudaf, mudaf ilay, his book. Kitabu huma, book of those two men. Kitabu hum, book of those so many men. Kitabu ha, book of that woman. Kitabu huma, book of those two women. Kitabu hunna, book of all those women. Kitabuka, your book. Kitabukuma, you two men, your book. Kitabukum, all you men, your book. Kitabuki, your book, all you female. Kitabukuma, you two female, your book. Kitabukunna, book of you, all female. Kitabi, my book. Kitabuna, our book. This is how it changes. Mudaf, mudaf ilayh. They all these damair, all these pronouns becomes majroor because all of these pronouns are now being attached with a noun, and when they are attached with a noun, they become mudaf ilayh. And mudaf ilayh is always in majroor state, no matter what you see right at the end. It doesn't matter. The reason it is kitabu he becomes kitabu hu because it's easier to say kitabu hu for Arabs. So they change it into kitabu hu as opposed to kitabu he. So that majroor is actually with dhamma, it doesn't matter. This is the way they say it, but it is actually mudaf ilayh. Mudaf ilayh doesn't have to be, always have to be in majroor state, but that majroor state doesn't always manifest itself with a kasra. It can do in most cases, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does it by fatha. Sometimes it does by dhamma. So sometimes it does by ya noon. Sometimes so there are different ways of doing it. Okay. So make sure that you understand that mudaf, mudaf ilayh is always majroor, no matter what the signs are looking like. So don't go by the sign. Let's go by the concept. Okay. Okay. كتاب الأساسي الدرس العاشر 10th chapter المطار airport مطار طائرة طائرة is plane سلم طائرة سلم طائرة planes stairs, the elevators. Sullam is ladder, stairs. طائرة مضاف مضاف إليه. طائرة plane. سلم طائرة. جناح طائرة. Wing of طائرة. Wing of the plane. جناح طائرة. مضاف مضاف إليه. You translate as of or apostrophe s. Same thing. طيار pilot. مضيف host. تذكرة طائرة. تذكرة طائرة. planes ticket. تذكرة ticket. طائرة plane مضاف مضاف إليه. جواز سفر. جواز سفر. passport. passport. جواز سفر. travel pass it means, but port pass. passport, okay, to pass the port. passport. ضابط جوازات. officer of passport means the passport checker, the officer. ضابط is officer. حمال, the one who carries the weight. porter. porter. حمال. الطائر تهبط. هبط يهبط means to land, to go down. الطائرة مبتدأ. تهبط is fail with complete sentence and it becomes خبر. الطائرة تهبط. The plane is landing. الطائرة تقلع. قلع أقلع يقلع to deroute actually, but here it means to depart because the wheel of the plane gets derouted, detached from the ground. So الطائرة تقلع, pulled out, means is taking off. الضابط يفحص جواز السفر. The officer is checking the passport. جواز السفر مضاف مضاف إليه. بكر يصعد السلم. بكر is climbing the stairs. مظلة umbrella. مظلة. مظلة, the tool that gives you the article, the object that gives shadow. ظل means shadow. مظلة, so the one that gives you shade. السلم أمام الطائرة. أمام الطائرة. The stairs are, or the stairs is in front of the plane. السيارة وراء الطائرة. The car is behind the plane. Okay. بطاقة وصول. بطاقة is the board, notice board of any board. وصول is arrival. So arrival is notice board. When they give you the plan, the timetable. ضباط officers. ضابط plural is ضباط. ضباط جمع مكسر. وصول وصول is arrival. مغادرة is departure. So they're giving you the timetable. لوحة المواعيد. Timetable. Schedule. مواعيد is scheduled. And لوحة is the board. Schedule board, notice board. Inshallah, we'll leave that there. In قصص موعظة التوحيد. Advice of oneness. توحيد مضاف مضاف إليه. That's what التوحيدي مجرور. قال يوسف عليه السلام said ذلكما مما علمني ربي. This is from what my Lord taught me. ولكن الله, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لا يؤتي علمه كل أحد. Allah does not give his knowledge to everyone. إن الله لا يؤتي علمه المشرك. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give his knowledge to the idolater. هل تعرفاني لماذا علمني ربي? Then he said, do you know, both of you men, do you know why my Lord taught me? لأني تركت طريق أهل الشرك. Because I abandoned the way of idolaters, people of idolatry. واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب. And I followed the path of my forefathers Ibrahim and Ishaq and Yaqub, his father, great grandfather and great grandfather. ما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله من شيء. It is not befitting us. We do not and we shouldn't associate partners with Allah, associate anyone, anything, partners with Allah. قال Yusuf alayhi salam said, وهذا التوحيد ليس لنا فقط. This oneness, this tawheed is not just for us. بل هو للناس جميعا, but it is for all the mankind, every human being. ذلك من فضل الله علينا وعلى الناس ولكن أكثر الناس لا يشكرون. This is from the favors of Allah upon us and on people, but most people do not thank Allah. They do not show gratitude. وهنا وقف يوسف وسألهما. Here, Yusuf al-Islam stayed quiet. He stopped. وسألهما, and he asked them both. تقولون رب البر ورب البحر ورب الرزق ورب المطر. You say the God of land, the God of sea, the God of provision, the God of rain. وَنَحْنُ نَقُولُ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. We say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of the universe. أَأَرْبَابٌ مُتَفَرِّقُونَ خَيْرٌ أَمِ اللَّهُ الْوَاحِدُ الْقَهَّارُ. Are many various deities better, or Allah the only one, the overpowering? أين رب البحر أين رب البر ورب البحر ورب الرزق ورب المطر. We are the God of land, the Rabb of the Lord of the sea, the Lord of provision, the Lord of rain. أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات. Show me what did they create in the land, in the earth, or are they partners in the heavens? انظروا إلى الأرض وإلى السماء وانظروا إلى الإنسان. Look at the earth and to the heavens and look at the man. هذا خلق الله. This is the creation of Allah. فأروني, so show me, ماذا خلق الذين من دونه. What did these people create other than Allah? What did they created? Those who you worship other than Allah. وكيف رب البر ورب البحر ورب الرزق ورب المطر. And how could there be Lord of land, Lord of sea, Lord of provision, and Lord of rain? أسماء, these are just names. سميتموها, which you have given to these idols. Antum, you, wa aba'ukum, or you and your parents, forefathers. They've just given these names. Al-hukmu lillah, the command is for Allah. Al-mulku lillah, the kingdom is for Allah. Al-ardu lillah, the earth is for Allah. Al-amru lillah, the order is for Allah. Allah ta'budu illa iyyah, that you do not worship except Him. ذلك الدين القيم. This is the straight deen, upright religion. ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. And unfortunately most people do not know. Inshallah ta'ala, we leave that there. I feel that maybe we have covered this much and I'm just doing it again, but anyway, there's no harm in revision anyway. Jazakallahu khairah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.